right, people, it's Friday, February 28th, 2025, and instead of a Friday roundtable extravaganza for you, I offer you one woman who is easily worth at least two men. How is that for an intro, Megyn Kelly? Come on. Pretty good?
Depends on the man, but okay, I'll take it.
She's worth 17 regular dudes, and well, we'll leave that up to the internet to quantify. Megyn, let's just dive in, because this was a very, very interesting week in the media, and let's say for people that do what we do for a living. As everyone knows, Joy Reid, with her low-rated talk show over on the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, was canned this week, and here she is, very upset because her show, which had value, although it's unclear how much value or to who, is no longer.
My show had value, and that, I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And then it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted, and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life, and defended them, or whether we've talked about what the president is doing that is subversive to the Constitution, that is injurious to our liberty, defending books that people find inconvenient, that Nicole Hannah-Jones put into our spirit, that we need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about any of these issues, and yes, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object, to little babies being bombed. And where I come down on that is I'm not sorry. I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. I'm a church girl too. And
is it over yet? Is this what you do to your audience? You subject them to 4-minute clips of terrible people? It's not worth the payoff. Yes, you get me at the end, but it's not worth it.
You're being punked right now. We're not even airing this episode. I'm just doing this to you.
That's horrible. You got to tell your team soundbites should be no longer than 60 seconds. That's horrible. Especially with terrible people like that.
That was a time warp.
Who wants to sit through that?
It was too much. I want you to obviously handle all the heavy lifting on this, but just real quick. BLM, she was on the wrong side of that. Asians targeting, she's not talking about the Asians who got targeted at Harvard and discriminated against.
No.
Immigrants, of course, she doesn't say illegal immigrants. The president's subversiveness, I don't know what she's talking about. Books, for some reason, she wants kids to read about sex changes and all the rest of it. 1619 Project. And she almost had Gaza when she was talking about babies, but then she meant the wrong.
She got to Gaza. Yeah, she's absolutely zero sympathy for the Bibas brothers. She's not thinking about them at all when she talks about babies. She doesn't mean them. That was just a perfect list of why she got canceled, why she had no ratings, why nobody was attracted to that show at all. And the thing about the crying is actually very interesting to me, because as a human, when somebody else is crying, your normal instinct is to be like, oh, I see her humanity. I guess, whatever. I feel kind of bad she's crying. But the thing is, and even I have that first initial instinct. She starts to cry, like, okay, she's a human on this earth. She's a woman. She's crying. And then you remember the disgusting piece of her having zero empathy for anyone who's white at when they're crying. I mean, she reveled in it. You've got the clip where she mocked it. She actually did, like, I'm not even capable of it, but like, she like pretended to be a white person crying, like trying to get her enormous Adam's apple.
I won't subject you to it again. We'll throw it in post. So don't worry about that. We won't make you watch it again.
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. pearly white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, green waterworks. White men can get away with that too. And it has the same effect. Even as the right tries to politicize the idea that masculinity is being robbed from American men by multiculturalism and wokeism, they still want to be able to have their tears.
It was so disgusting. And she was offering it after the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where this 18-year-old was on trial for his life after having been called a white supremacist with zero evidence by the next president of the United States, Joe Biden. So, yeah, it was kind of stressful. It was stressful for him. And he cried. And her response was to mock him mercilessly and talk about how disgusting she finds white male tears, but also white female tears, like the Karens who cry. And, you know, I was talking to Batya Ungar-Sargon about this, and she made a great point. It was a great point. I'd never heard somebody make this, which is, you know why people are crying like Kyle Rittenhouse or her so-called Karens, who she hates so much? Because they're human and they're upset usually that somebody has called them one of the worst possible things you can call somebody, which is racist. They know it's a disgusting, evil term, that it doesn't apply to them, that it's being used as a weapon to silence them, and they're controversial in the accuser's viewpoint, but something that actually is just truth 9 times out of 10. So it's used in the most vicious, dishonest way possible. And so, yeah, if you're human, you're upset that somebody's flinging this vicious label on you. And maybe you shed a tear or two. And Joy Reid thought it was funny. She mocked it. She reveled in it. She wanted to see your fucking tears come down your face. So Joy Reid's tears, shoot it into my veins. Do it. Cry. Suffer. That's how I feel.
But they think they can just say all of the worst things about everybody, and that will somehow, I don't know, generate them clout or clicks or something. I guess it's just a nasty game.
I mean, look, what Joy Reid is learning is that whole game is over. She's learning her game of defrauding the public, Rachel Maddow's game of defrauding the public. You know, one does it on race and identity issues nonstop, and one does it on actually really serious matters like Russiagate nonstop. Is over. The fever broke. It broke when Trump was elected. And whether it's a race hustler like Joy Reid or Ellie Mistal, who's on her show all the time, just as bad as she is, or Rachel Maddow, who's out there actually trying to play the race card in the wake of Joy's firing, it's over. The jig is up. Like, we're on to them and we're done. It's actually kind of encouraging to see Rachel Maddow still playing that card. Like, great. You should do that. Do that for the next 4 years every Monday, because that's as much as you're willing to work. And you go out there and you try to stir your audience up on that, and you see how well that works for you. Because you may or may not realize it, but the rest of us have moved on.
Can you believe that Rachel Maddow is paid $25 million a year to do a once-a-week show where she calls her bosses racist? Like, that's a sweet gig.
There's so much wrong with it. I like the fact that she got out there and was like, what I really care about it's not myself. It's not me, which 100% it is herself.
Of course.
It's my staff. It's the staff, the Joy Reid staff that now has been subjected to the indignity of layoffs, but the opportunity to apply for a different position on a different show. How is that an indignity?
Right.
Well, people get laid off all the time, and most don't get the offer to then apply for any number of spots that are open on other shows. And by the way, they shouldn't even be given that because they're hashtag part of the problem. If you work for Joy Reid, you're crazy too. You're crazy. There's nobody who could work for that woman and be a normal, sane person. Every sane person would have already left that show. So they should be on their knees thanking them for giving them any sort of opportunity to apply. But Rachel Maddow, if she actually cared, she'd do one of a couple things. If she thought they were racist and they were firing Joy Reid because they're racist, or Alex Wagner, who's half Burmese. Her mother was from Burma with the Southeast Asian, but Rachel Maddow doesn't give a shit about their Asians, as you point out, when they're applying to Harvard. It's only, I guess, when she can use it against MSNBC and sound woke and holier than thou. If she wants to, open up spots for them, she should quit. She's practically quit already. She's out of there, except for the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. She's out of there 4 nights a week. Open up a spot. Do it, lady. Put your money where your mouth is. Wide open, big spot on MSNBC. Even if it's just every Monday night, you could do it right now. Give it to a black woman. That's what Serena Williams' white husband did during BLM. He was CEO of Reddit. He said, no, I want to step down from my seat on the board. Open it up for a person of color. Oh, how did that ever work out? I don't remember. But Put your money where your mouth is. So she won't, because she wants her $25 million a year. And by the way, she's so concerned about the suffering staffers over there. You got 20 staffers. For 20 staffers, it would take $4 million a year to employ them.
Right.
She could take $4 million of her multiple 25. She's been making 25 a year. She was making 30 a year last year and the year before. She's just got a cut this year. She took one for the team. This would be a nothing to her. She's got, I'm sure, over 100 million in the bank. You give 4 to support those staffers just for one. You don't even have to take it out of your bank account. You just tell them, you know what, this year, pay me 21. I think she could live on 20. Just do 2 million and save 10 of them. Now you're down to 23 million. Do you think you could do the job one day a week for 23 million? So some of those poor souls about whom you care so much could continue working at MSNBC. Oh, Rachel, I can't wait to see your benevolence.
Megyn, here's what we're going to do. If Rachel Maddow will take you up on that offer and hire 10 of those people, I will throw in the salary for the 11th. Will you pay for one of those people if she will hire 10 of them?
No. Why would I support any of those people? They're terrible. I don't want to continue or contribute in any way to what they do, and I don't feel sorry for them. Unlike Rachel, I don't pretend I do.
All right, I have one other thing for you on this, and then I will not waste the entire show with this interpersonal drama. But last time you were on the show, we had a brief debate over who was the most racist person on television. And you said it was Joy Reid, and I said that I thought it was Sunny Hostin.
Yes, right.
And I guess, as it turns out, I won by default because Joy will no longer be on television. So you owe me a coffee.
That's not right. That's not the calculus. No, I won because my racist was fired and your racist is still there. So my racist must be more racist than your racist. So I won this one too.
Kelly. If you've been trying to lose fat, get leaner, and optimize your workouts, listen up, guys, this is for you. I've been using Lumen for the past few weeks, and it's been a game changer. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. With just one breath first thing in the morning, Lumen measures your metabolism and tells you if you're burning fat or carbs. It then provides personalized guidance to optimize your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. How does Lumen help you reach your goals? Lumen gives you daily macro recommendations based on your metabolism every day, so you're fueling your body with exactly what it needs. Right before a workout, breathe into Lumen and it'll tell you if you're burning carbs or fat. Lumen helps you decide if you need to carb up for an energy boost or if you're ready to crush your workout as is. By using this real-time biofeedback, Lumen ensures that you're in the most optimal state to maximize your workouts and reach your fitness goals. Over time, these small, personalized changes really add up, helping you lose excess fat, build muscle, and improve your overall metabolic health. Ready to take your health to the next level? Go to lumen.me/Rubin or click the link below to get 20% off your Lumen. All right, let's talk about some of the stuff that's actually important in the world, because there's some great things happening in the country and we can all get lost in all the silly stuff and it's worth doing for a moment. But there really are some wonderful things happening in Trump's America. Of course, the main thing is that DOGE is just uncovering fraud and I would say criminal abuse of the system and all sorts of evil things. Donald Trump sat down with Elon Musk and Sean Hannity and they talked about how they're doing this through executive orders and why this is a little bit different than how executive orders were, let's say, executed in the past.
And when he talks about the executive orders, and this is probably true for all presidents, you write an executive order and you think it's done. You send it out. It doesn't get done. It doesn't get implemented. They don't implement it. Maybe they're from the last administration, and they are in some cases. You try and get them out as fast as you can. But as soon as he said that, I said, that's interesting. You write a beautiful executive and you sign it and you assume it's going to be done, but it's not. What he does is he takes it and with his 100 geniuses, he's got some very brilliant young people working for him that dress much worse than him, actually.
Yeah,
they dress in just T-shirts. You wouldn't know they have 180 IQ.
Wait a minute. So he's your tech support.
No, he is.
I actually literally am tech support.
More than that.
I actually am tech support, though.
But he gets it done. He's a leader.
Yeah.
He really is. He gets it done. You get a lot of tech people, and you have people that go to a tech, but he gets it done. I said in real estate, you had guys that would draw beautiful renderings of a building, and they'd draw the rendering. It would be great. And you say, great, when are you starting? But they were never able to get it built. They couldn't get the financing. They couldn't get the approvals. It would never get done. And then you have other guys that are able to get it done. They could just get it done. I was in real estate. Same thing in this. He gets it done. So when he said that, he said, when you sign these executive orders, a lot of them don't get done, and maybe the most important ones. And he would take that executive order that I'd sign, and he would have those people go to whatever agency it was. When are you doing it? Get it done, get it done. And some guy that maybe didn't want to do it, all of a sudden, he's signing. He just doesn't want to be bothered.
All right, so Megyn, we cut that clip a little quicker for you because you're a broadcasting professional.
Well, it wasn't as painful as the other ones.
But there's just so many beautiful things happening there. First off, you can see a real friendship and respect developing between the two of them, and it's happening on the fly. But the other thing is that I think people are starting to realize that government can work again. It does not have to be this way if you bring in good people. And it's actually kind of beautiful to see.
Well, look, I agree with you. And I also think that the Democrats have just done a very foolish thing, which is they picked this hill to die on, of the federal bureaucrat and federal foreign aid spending. Like, what? That's what you want dominating the news? How you stood up for the bureaucrats? Like, how is that going to go for you? Mm-hmm. And part of me is starting to think that this whole thing is like the shiny thing to distract people to look over here while Trump achieves peace in the Middle East and Europe. Yeah. Like, he's doing a lot more important things over there with his right hand than he's doing with Elon on the left, not to diminish what Elon's doing, but like world peace would be kind of at the top of the list. And Trump appears to be on pace to achieve it within the first 2 months of his presidency. So all this time the media is spending putting on federal bureaucrats who are mad that they have to comply with the Elon email of saying 5 things they accomplished last week. CNN's literally populating its airway with these people. That's time that they're not spending covering the more controversial things Trump is doing. The possible return of Title 42 down at the border with the Tom Homan raids, the negotiations with Ukraine, the other executive orders on the more dicey DEI issues and the legal battles around them. Great. There's only so much space in the paper. If you want to spend it talking about how mean Elon is to the federal workforce and treating them the way every employee in the private sector is treated, go for it.
That, I think, is the real point. So we'll show the email for just a second, and everyone has seen this already. Basically give us 5 bullet points. Don't send any classified information. Megyn, you're a fairly successful businesswoman. If you were to turn to your producer or your assistant and say, hey, what'd you do this week? And they didn't have an answer, what would you do?
Yeah, they'd be in a lot of trouble. And let me tell you something. When we first started the show, everyone is remote. The only person I work with here in the studio is Abby, my half assistant, half sister in some ways. Not actually, but she feels like it. And so I don't really know what everybody's doing. And so in the beginning days of the show, I would send people notes saying, what are you doing today? Like, let me know. I'm their boss. I need to know what they're doing. I want to make sure nobody's doing more than another person so that it's fair. And I'm ultimately responsible for, the division of labor on some things. So I did do that. And if somebody had blown me off or become indignant at my request, I would have fired their asses. This is so weird. Like, I get the folks in the classified, business, like the folks at the CIA, and I get why Kash Patel was like to the FBI, you don't have to, and Tulsi too, and Pete. I get that. But like most of these other people, why can't you say what you did at the DOE this week? Why? How easy would it be for the average employee of any business to say, here are the 5 things I did? It's not hard. The reason that the fact that they don't want to is very telling.
Watch this. Connor, what did you do this week?
Prepped interviews.
Prepped interviews.
Oh.
Sounds legit. Sounds legit.
So far, I give it like a B+ on this one, Connor.
Did you know that drinking 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily can lower your risk of death by 29% and nearly halve your chances of heart complications? But let's be real. What's the point if your coffee tastes like it was brewed by someone who thinks soy lattes are the peak of sophistication? Enter 1775 Coffee. Hand-picked Bolivian beans roasted in the USA, delivering pure, single-origin brilliance. No gimmicks, no deceit, just coffee for those who crave truth, depth, and the clarity to cut through life's illusions. The best part? every dollar you spend gets you entered to win a blacked out 2024 Tesla Cybertruck, a modern day Ark built for any of life's challenges, plus 30 grand in cash. Not bad. Here's what to do. Go to 1775coffee.com, stock up and fuel your mornings with rebellion. Use code Rubin for 15% off your order. Don't miss your shot to sip bold, authentic coffee and drive a Cybertruck with $30K in your pocket. 1775coffee.com. Fuel your mornings, forge your path. So the other cool thing that's happening right now is as Elon and Trump fix this stuff, I think other people are realizing they can fix things too. I live in a place where things are pretty fixed, generally speaking, obviously the free state of Florida, but here's Governor DeSantis talking about how now we are going to have our own DOGE.
We have already been doing this stuff. This will really help enhance that. So today, I'm pleased to announce that we are launching a comprehensive initiative to continue to streamline our government and to continue to eliminate unnecessary bureaucracy and to continue to ensure tax dollars are used in the most efficient way possible. We are creating a state DOGE task force that will implement a multi-pronged approach to eliminating bureaucratic bloat and modernizing our state government to best serve the people of Florida in the years ahead. This will be just similar to the federal DOGE. It's going to be a limited amount of time. It'll be a one-year term. It will sunset following the completion of the mission. Now, we've already been looking at things that we can do leading into this upcoming legislative session, and we've already earmarked over 70 state boards and commission for abolishment and to sunset them. This will restore power and accountability to Floridians.
Now, Megyn, I fled Cali, you fled New York, but you gotta be a little jealous that you're not
more
down
than
here.
a little. More than a little. Oh, it's so painful. Like our governors, look, he's a committed leftist, and our senators here are terrible. Dick Blumenthal and Chris Murphy in Connecticut.
Horrible.
Oh my! I threw up a little in my mouth. I'm so jealous. I would do anything to have. I would take any DeSantis. I would take Casey. I would take the two little kid DeSantises. I would take Ron. I don't care. Just give me any DeSantis here. Connecticut will never do this. New York even less so. And it's wonderful. All I think when I hear him is, what can you guys do to get rid of the term limits down there in Florida? Wouldn't you like to keep him forever? Like, he's a young man. He could keep going. Why give him up?
I know, it is funny. Like, I believe in term limits because you just don't want to keep these guys around forever. Look at our Congress. But there is this other piece of me that's like, man, we have done everything so right here. Like, why?
Get the wife. Then you get the twofer.
She might. Well, they're saying Byron Donalds now. I guess Trump endorsed him.
He'd be amazing, too. He'd be amazing.
Yeah. Let's jump to other things that are working. The rest of the show is just about stuff that's working, really. Bobby Kennedy, obviously, now in charge of HHS, and they're going to look into chronic diseases and see why we're so sick. Pretty good. Take a look.
Last Thursday, President Trump signed an executive order to establish the MAHA Commission to study what has caused the precipitous decline in American health over the past 2 generations. So we will convene representatives of all viewpoints to study the causes for the drastic rise in chronic disease. Some of the possible factors we will investigate were formerly taboo or insufficiently scrutinized. The childhood vaccine schedule, electromagnetic radiation, glyphosate, other pesticides, ultra-processed foods, artificial food additives, SSRI and other psychiatric drugs, PFAs, PFOAs, microplastics. Nothing is going to be off limits.
Megyn, you know that the meme of Ron Paul with like the laser rainbows behind him and he's dancing like it's happening? Isn't that what it feels like when you wake up now and you're like, oh, Bobby Kennedy is making sure that we're going to poison our kids a little bit less. We have competent people that are making sure the border is going to be taken care of. Like, it's happening.
Oh, I am so excited about the MAHA stuff. That pesticide he's talking about, I never say it right. Glyphosate. glyphosate. I can't get it, but it's on every wheat crop in America. And it's why your pasta is totally infected with pesticides, but it's not when you go to Italy. You know how you can have the pasta over there and you don't feel like Veruca salt? No, the other one, Violet Beauregard from Wonka with like the blueberry afterward. But over here you do. It's because of that. And so why do we have to have that here? How come our wheat has it and their wheat doesn't have it? Why? Finally, you have somebody in there who's asking that question. The EMF stuff is very interesting too. This electromagnetic, like frequency, whatever, radiation. So I actually looked into this. A friend, a family member is very into this stuff and is like, you got to watch out for that stuff. You know, like the waves coming out of your Wi-Fi and your plugs. I'm like, she's a little, no. And then we were installing a studio down at our house at the beach, where I spend the summers. And the brain of the studio is going to go like right over where the family sleep. And I said, maybe I should just check just to make sure this isn't a thing. And I asked my doctor, he poo-poos everything, Dave. He's like, no, not a thing. No, stop it. No. We were talking before the show started about mold and exposure to mold. He's like, everybody in the jungle would be dead if mold were a thing. You don't have to worry about it. He worries about nothing. But with this, he was like, actually, there's a study. It was just published on the NIH website showing that especially with children, too much exposure to this stuff could be potentially problematic. What? It could? Why didn't the NIH make that more well known? Why wasn't the HHS putting this on blast for parents so that everybody knows that this isn't just some weird scam that freaks are into, that weird Bobby Kennedy, that kook? No, it's actually a thing. And then the other piece that I wanted to mention, Callie Means tweeted this out the other day, and Bobby promised at his confirmation hearings that he would look into this. This is one of the main reasons why I liked him, is there's a revolving door between FDA and the big drug companies. Anybody who saw the movie Dope Sick knows this. It's why, in large part, we had an opioid crisis, because the FDA, the individuals at it, were on the take with the Sacklers, with the big drug company, and refused to put the black box warning on OxyContin. And actually were telling us that it really wasn't that addictive. And then as soon as they left the FDA, where did they wind up? With that very same drug company. Well, what happened this week? Patrizia Cavazzoni, former head of the FDA's drug center, joins Pfizer as chief medical officer. This was the nation's top drug regulator last month. Immediately, she gets hired by Scott Gottlieb at Pfizer, the same guy who was running around on every television station during COVID while working for Pfizer saying the vaccine was safe, young children should have it, it should be mandated, and so on. I mean, this system is disgusting and it's corrupt, and you need somebody like Bobby Kennedy. I'm sorry. You need the guy who takes the head off the bear in Central Park. You need the weird guy who doesn't think like everybody else. He doesn't give a damn about getting your approval. He's too tan and he's weirdly fit and he's not like the others, and that's why he's perfect for this job.
You hit so many things there. Real quick on that EMF thing that you just mentioned, we have two 2-year-olds here and they have cameras in their cribs so that, we can make sure that they're okay when they're sleeping. And we got one of those EMF measures and it goes nuts and we had to switch out the cameras. I can't speak to exactly what that means in terms of health, but that's what we're all starting to wonder. Or your Wi-Fi
router. Don't put your Wi-Fi router right next to your children's bed or your baby's crib. That should be someplace where humans are not constantly passing by it. These little things. Like, who knew? And by the way, there are companies that you can call, and the very small, not expensive fixes for this stuff. It's not like, oh, what a racket. So if we're wrong, if this is a nothing, you don't have to spend that much money to like take this gamble on, like, you can get these sort of little clean energy things that go on the outlets in your apartment or like in this studio that we're building. It's kind of like one of those blankets that looks like you'd give a marathon runner at the end of their, it's like it can kind of protect some of the waves from going out. It's legit. Anyway, my point is, why are we having to work so hard to figure this out? Why did I have to spend so much energy trying to figure out how to get a carbon filter on my household water and whether I should have an RO filter in addition? You have to work so hard because the government not only is not helping you, but if anything, up until now, they've been giving out bad information, like I should be having 6 servings of bread a day. So finally, we have somebody who seems weird, but speaks normally. pushes policies that are normal, is open to just science and testing these theories out and then publishing both sides, it's going to be totally refreshing and truly, I think, revolutionary.
There is no way that updated, independent Megyn Kelly is eating 6 servings of bread a day. I know that much.
But I will have 2. Sometimes I'll have 2, like 1 piece of like sourdough in the morning and then maybe 1 piece later, but that's about it.
Let me just ask you one other thing, sort of political part aside for a second, but just like Mama Megyn Kelly, because I know that that's actually your main job and main pride. When you see Bobby doing this stuff and talking about kids and their health and everything else, to me that seems like the easiest win for all of this. And I guess I'm asking you as a mom now, like, isn't that like the greatest, simplest thing that government could offer out, that maybe they would just, it's sort of what you just said, but just get out of your way when it comes to how to parent your kids and make sure they're okay?
I just feel like they've been so captured by their special interests, they're not thinking about us. That's what I love about him. I love that he's a litigator who's been suing these drug companies his whole life. Elizabeth Warren wanted us to think that was a bad thing, that was disqualifying. That he makes money off of these lawsuits, as every lawyer representing, a plaintiff against a drug company would. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's awesome. It shows he's not beholden to them, and that he'll have no problem inflicting pain where appropriate in his new role. Like, I just think, even having sat through the confirmation hearings, even a lot of the Republicans, Dave, like they've got their constituents too.
Yep.
They have certain ranchers or certain farmers who don't want anything being done with those pesticides because it's going to cost them money. They're going to have to change the way they do things. Not all of them. Some of these farmers have actually come up with cancer, and they actually would like to see real change in this field too, but not all. So it's been a bipartisan problem, and Republicans have taken money from drug companies too. And so you really do need this kind of, buster, this like, not a trust buster exactly, but just a buster who goes in there and upsets the apple cart and really doesn't care who dislikes him. Like Trump. He's Trump in a different mold. And I think that's one of the reasons why they kind of found each other and saw something special in one another, and why Bobby's endorsement of Trump was by far, I think, the most significant endorsement Trump got, and it actually genuinely helped him win. I'm not sure. I think Trump would have won without Bobby, but I wouldn't have wanted to make the bet. So look, maybe I have hope that he will be helpful. He won't just be neutral. He won't just be getting out of our way. He will be publishing information, especially like on vaccines. I know that's his most controversial subject.
Yep.
I had my kids vaccinated, all the vaxes. I had them, all of them. And when they were babies. And I wish I had paid more attention to what Bobby was saying back then. Why did I get them the Hep C vaccine? Why did they need an STD vaccine? I didn't have an STD. They didn't have any drug use. Why was
moments
I
after
shooting
they're
at my
born.
babies? I was too unquestioning.
Yeah, and somehow he's become tanner than Trump, which is they probably should look into that.
Extremely
But
tan.
speaking,
It's remarkable.
We've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin, he said. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. It's almost like Photoshop for your face. You may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view, Lake told reporters. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. You can find out more about this yourself right now. Go to bhmd1.com/Rubin or click the link in the description box below. That's bhmd1.com/Rubin. Again, go watch the video at bhmd1.com/Rubin right now, or just click the link in the description box below.
Speaking of busters, Tulsi Gabbard is now the head or the director of national intelligence, and she sat down with Lara Trump on her new Fox show, and they talked about what the real threats to America are.
Joe Biden once said that white supremacy was the single greatest terrorist threat to our homeland. What do you feel is the greatest threat to the American people's safety?
We look at the last 4 years of open borders. where we had tens of millions of people come across our borders, many of whom we don't know who they are or what their intentions are. And very specifically, the threat of radical Islamist terrorism here within our country is higher than it's ever been before, not only because of President Biden's open borders, but because of his and his administration's fear of being called Islamophobes. They took their attention and our resources away from that threat and once again pointed it at our fellow Americans.
Megyn, it's sort of the same thing with Bobby, just like hearing some simple truth that we need to hear. But I know you know Tulsi a little bit. Like, she's like the most lovely, decent human being on earth. And the fact that she got this job now, I think is going to be like, I think it's going to be the great surprise of the administration how much good stuff she's going to do. And the fact that she just told the truth there. We're so used to hearing the other version of this, and she just told the truth.
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts on that. So we're talking about Bobby, we're talking about Trump, we're talking about Tulsi. In a way, we're talking about you and me. That's 5, all of whom used to be Democrats and now no longer are.
Yep.
Right. Like all of us, when I was younger, I was a Democrat. But all of us crossed over. And why? Because the left is insane. Because they went so crazy, we wanted nothing to do with them. It was like 15-foot pole. That's not long enough. More distance, please, more. And in Tulsi's case, it was the most vicious chasing out of the party. I mean, in Bobby's too. In recent memory, though, I mean, they were accusing her of being treasonous, of being like a spy for Bashar al-Assad or Vladimir Putin. I mean, sick. And that came right from Hillary Clinton's camp. I mean, like, she was not above any of that nonsense. And why? Why? What was Tulsi's original sin? She spoke up about the cheating the DNC did to make sure Hillary won in the 2016 nomination contest and Bernie didn't. And that turncoat, Bernie Sanders, didn't even vote for her. I mean, this party is vicious and has absolutely no loyalty. So that's one thing. Secondly, yes, of course it's radical Islamic terrorists. That's obvious. And, you know, it's the lunatic left that wants to say it's just white men. It's just white men are the ones who we really have to worry about. But that reminded me of the AP controversy, which is in the news now, and how President Trump has said, you know what, AP, you can keep your seat in the White House briefing room, but you're not getting a pass into the Oval or onto Air Force One. And one of the many, many things that the AP has done in recent years is to ban the use of that term. They don't say Islamist and they don't say terrorist when they're talking about Islamic radicals. They'll say it when they're talking about what happened on the Capitol on January 6th, but they will not say it when they're talking about radical Islamists. They've erased those words from their style book, which is the gold standard. It's what all journalistic outlets are told to use. It's a propaganda machine. So it's sort of an act of courage for her to come out and just say what's real and use the proper terms. By the way, not for nothing, but other terms that the AP got rid of were riots. You can only say protests. That came into effect right after George Floyd, unless you're talking about January 6th, in which case you can say riots and or insurrection, both totally fine, but not about George Floyd. And if you're talking about riots, I mean protests during and after George Floyd, you also have to be sure to point out the underlying grievance that the looters and criminals are looting and committing crimes over. That's AP policy. So you've got this, one of, if not the most respected journalistic outlet in America that won't say what she just said. And is it any wonder there was the blowback there was to somebody like Tulsi stepping into that role?
Yeah, it's so incredible. Everything that is right, they will tell you that is wrong. Everything that is up, they will tell you is down. It goes on and on. Of course, the other big confirmation was Kash Patel, who's going to head the FBI, and then the one. I think they're freaking over Kash just because of this picture. For some reason, this picture keeps popping up.
It's not his best picture. It's not. Come on, let's face it. It is a little like, whoa.
But the guy who's going to be his number 2 over there is a guy that we also both know who does, his normal day gig is kind of what we do every day. And he's given that up, and he's given up an awful lot of money because he's a true American and a true patriot. That is Dan Bongino. And here he is basically saying goodbye to his audience.
I got a call from the president and he couldn't have been nicer. And obviously keep the contents of it between us, but I think you get the gist about what it was about. And kind of broke down a bit because it was, this is now real. So President, Attorney General Bondi, and now Director, gosh, that sounds good to say, FBI Director Akash Patel offered this role, a role I expressed an interest in. And ladies and gentlemen, I told you, you see, it's hard for me. I'm going to accept the role proudly as the Deputy Director, the number 2 spot at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Folks, it's a lot to walk away from.
Megyn, to me, that could have been you, not for, say, FBI or CIA or something like that, but some role, whether it was White House press secretary or something else. And he's given up his day gig that I know he loves. He gets millions and millions of people on his live stream every day. He's a good man. Like, he's given it up for the country. It's a beautiful thing.
I just love him, and I'm so happy for him. And one of the things I love about Dan is he's such a softie. You know, he's so tough in every way. He is the guy you'd want to be walking down the street next to if there were trouble. I would have zero fear walking next to Dan Bongino. He would take anybody out. And the only thing stopping him would be discretion and class and good manners, because he's been in that situation where he's been like, what's the word, harassed by protesters, and he didn't unleash his, black belt skills on them. He held it together because he's an appropriate person. But my point is simply, he could kill you. He could kill you. He could kill us both within 2 minutes. Yeah. But he'll cry too. He's a softie. He's a tender heart in there. And that's a great combination for any public servant. They'll have empathy for real people. They won't be like this FBI, where they have absolutely no compunctions about ruining lives, innocent lives. But he's tough, and he's not going to, spare any quarter for the bad guys. Great. And Dan's earned it. They're talking about him. They're doing to him what they did to Pete, which is like, oh, Fox News host, he's a podcaster, okay, sure. That's all Dan is. He's just a podcaster, with completely erasing his years of public service, which he did, as you point out, for not much money. NYPD, a Secret Service detail, as an agent, and then had a near-death experience. Had bad cancer and went under the knife and really wasn't sure if he was going to make it, and tells a story about how in that moment, who called him on his cell phone? Donald Trump. Yep. The president of the United States called him up and, said all the nicest things. And he saw Trump's humanity a lot earlier than many of the rest of us did. Anyway, I just think it's such a great choice because Dan's the perfect combo of those things I mentioned, and very bright and very savvy. Good luck pulling the wool over his eyes. And somebody I also think the FBI will respect. I know the media will tell you they don't because he didn't actually work there. You spend 2 minutes with Dan Bongino, you respect him. He's a great guy. He's a guy's guy. He's the kind of guy these guys want to be like, They're federal agents, so they take themselves a little bit more seriously, but secretly they'd love to be as cool as Dan Bongino. And so just being around him makes it increases your cool factor. And I think they're going to like that. I think he's going to respect them and be respectful to them right before he cuts the jobs of all the ones who betrayed us and deserve to lose their jobs.
To that point, so I know a couple of guys in the agency, and I have been told, we'll keep this as vague as possible, but that all of the bad guys who are there are absolutely freaking out right now because they know that this guy is going to just have no mercy for any of that BS. Megyn, before I let you go for the weekend, I want to throw to one other clip because you sort of referenced this when you were talking about the AP, and this sort of gets to what now, after all these years, has brought people like me and you together and our audiences together and the whole reshaping of the media landscape. Karoline Leavitt who's the White House press secretary, of course, was talking about what's going on with the press pool and how they are going to treat the ever-changing media landscape.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility.
Pretty sweet, eh?
Well, I may surprise you, but I actually am not sure this is a good idea. I'm all for expanding the pool of possibles who could be technically pool, which is a term of art. But when you're pool, it means you have the resources to cover the president with, the appropriate number of cameras and the appropriate number of microphones, and you can handle the audio and you can handle the cables and all the stuff that comes with handling the president. And you do it on behalf of all the journalists. Like, everybody's relying on you to get the sound, get it right, make sure we have a camera on him. God forbid something happened to him. Pool's always there, and they do an important role for everybody. Yes, there are some opportunities for bias, but a lot of the times it's just you're covering him. The rest of us need to go to sleep, and this outlet will make sure we've got eyes on the president if he's not dark. And so I definitely would not want to see that go to, just some outlet that loves Trump, but maybe isn't as well funded and doesn't have the experience in doing it. This is an area in which we need some experience. So I don't know. I get what she's going for. I'm not sure this is a great way of, pushing back on press bias, which I completely acknowledge exists. This is the first move on the press. I'm like, this may not work out the way you hope it will.
Ooh, interesting distinction there to send us off for the weekend. What does Megyn Kelly do on a weekend at the end of February?
You know what? Doug and I are going on a little couples trip to a little inn not too far away, because it is our 17th wedding anniversary on March
beautiful.
1st.
Well, happy anniversary to you guys. You are the best as always, and you'll probably never have to play a Joy Reid clip again. So it's pretty freaking.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
we'll see. And we'll meet here again when Sonny Hostin goes.
Oh, perfect. So that should be in like 2 weeks. Fantastic. Megyn, thank you so much. Guys, have a great weekend, everybody. If you haven't seen it, we have a whole bunch of interviews that we put up from Jordan Peterson's ARC conference in London, Carl Benjamin, member of Polish Parliament, Dominik Tarczynski, Dr. James Lindsay, Winston Marshall, Jordan Peterson will be out on Saturday. Oh, Peter Thiel this weekend, too. There's a lot of stuff. So you will be busy if you're not Megyn Kelly off on your romantic weekend. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you Monday.
Don't trust billionaire Elon Musk. Elon Musk claims we sent $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. False. He lied. We actually sent 50 million taxpayer dollars to Mozambique. Elon Musk is worth $400 billion, but he only saved taxpayers a measly $50 billion. He is not transparent. He says posting all his findings is enough. Unelected Elon Musk is willing to risk a constitutional crisis to save taxpayers money. Stop, Elon.